you're basically going to need to do a fire sale on your home. So that way you're not getting what you probably wanted for your home, and you're also paying more for the house that you're going to be purchasing. So it's kind of a catch-22 there.
Hey everybody, it's Kory and his favorite pool toy. And I'll explain the pool toy here in just a minute. If you guys are thinking about relocating to North Idaho in the near future or even in the distant future, this video has the potential to save you a lot of money in the transition from your current home to your next home, and it may even keep you from being homeless. This video will answer the question, should I sell my current home before I start looking for my next home? Coming up, I'm going to interview Bonnie about the 4 top strategies that buyers use to transition from one home to the next. At the end of that interview, I will ask Bonnie what she recommends to our clients the most. And the answer that she gave, I think will surprise you. Now, before we get to that interview, let me set the context with a pool toy. Imagine with me, if you will, that the North Idaho housing market is a large river and you are a buyer in need of a vessel to navigate that river. Do you want to be in a pool toy or a jet boat? You see, the North Idaho housing market is actually 3 distinct types of waters, and each takes up about 1/3 of the market. The first type of waters are the upstream waters. This is the seller's market. This is the top third of the market that has the most desired homes. These are the types of homes that have the features that everybody wants. See if some of these features are those that you want. People want move-in ready homes, single-story ranchers, 3-car garages, RV access, larger lots, and they want it in more established neighborhoods. Just 1 or 2 of those features puts you in the top third most competitive market, and most likely you're going to see multiple bids on the homes that have those features. In other words, you're going to be navigating upstream, so you want to choose your vessel wisely. The second type of waters are the still waters, and these are the waters where both buyers and sellers have equal leverage. These homes are nothing fancy. They're just move-in ready with less of the features that make the top third so popular. So for example, you'll be navigating in these waters if you're okay with a 2-story home, if you're okay with a 2-car garage, if you're okay without having RV parking. The next type of waters in our market are the downstream waters or the buyer's market. These are the least competitive homes in the bottom third of the market. These homes have been sitting on the market for a long time. They are the porcupine properties that we've discussed in other videos that nobody really wants to touch. They typically need more work. They need more money, more funds put into them to bring them into that move-in ready status. They typically have unredeemable qualities like being on a major highway, backed up to railroad tracks, under power lines, or they're in neighborhoods that aren't as desirable as some of those in the first top third. The type of home you will be going after will determine the competition that you're going to be going up against. And if you learn nothing from this video, please learn this. You must understand the availability of the home you're going to be pursuing here in North Idaho before you put your home where you're currently at on the market. Because what you're looking for may not be all that available. Let me demonstrate. Those of you that have been watching our channel will recognize this exercise. I do this quite often to show certain types of inventory and how limited they are. I'm going to do this search parameter now because I want you to see what is available at the peak season. So you'll notice the date up here is June 16th. This is peak buying and selling season. The inventory that we have right now is 1,858 homes in the entire MLS. That's all of North Idaho. This is as many homes as you're going to see for the year. So this is a good time for you to see how limiting inventory is. So let's go ahead and get into this. So the first thing we want to recognize is that we have 1,858 homes available to look at before we set our criteria. One of the limiting criteria that most people want is going to be right here where we set a perimeter of a half hour from Coeur d'Alene. And you'll see here this perimeter is from Coeur d'Alene out a half hour. Most people want to be within a half hour of Coeur d'Alene because that's where healthcare is, that's where work is, that's where amenities for families are, your shopping, your dining. And again, the majority of people want to be within a half hour of ground zero, which is Coeur d'Alene. So already, just by setting up that perimeter, we now have half the inventory. We're down to 978. And you're thinking, well, that's a lot of homes to look at. Hold on, we still have to put in our parameters. So the first thing we're going to do is establish the listing price. And I'm going to check this box, and you'll see that it's from $0 all the way up to $1 million. And we've already cut our properties into 667. So that should tell you that there's about 300 properties that are $1 million or more. We're down to 667, half hour from Coeur Lane, under $1 million. We're going to choose building style, and I've already preloaded single level living. That's usually your single level story ranchers, your single level with a bonus room, and your single daylight where you have a basement but your main level living is on the first floor. And look at your inventory. You've cut it down from that 600 something number down to 285. So you've already cut out 2/3 of your inventory just by saying you want to be in a single story home. Most people want a minimum of 3 bedroom, so we'll put that in there. Most people want a minimum of 2 bathroom. We'll put that in there. Watch your inventory go down. Most people want a minimum of 1,700 square feet. And we're not even going to include lot acreage at this point. We're just going to let whatever size lot comes up. And then we'll stop here, and I'll just remind you that all we have at this point is single story homes, half hour from Coeur Lane, $1 million and under, and you've got 147 homes to look at. So basically, these are the homes without 3-car garage and without RV parking. But as soon as you put one or both of those criteria in, watch what happens to your inventory. So Kory, I've got to have a 3-car garage. Okay, well, let's go down here. We include 3-car garage. Watch your inventory. It went down to 58. Well, Kory, I've got to have a 3-car garage and RV parking because I got a pretty good sized boat. All right, let's put the RV parking in there. We're down to 9 homes. So let me back the map out and remind you where we're at. We are within a half hour of Coeur Lane, under $1 million, single level living, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,700 square foot minimum, 3-car garage, and RV access. There are 9 homes. So as we bring these homes up, let's look at a couple things. How many of these homes are under 600,000? This is the only one. So if your budget is 600 and under, and you want the criteria that we just established, there are no homes for you to look at except this one. You have an extremely, if existent at all, inventory, and you need to know that when you come to look for homes here. If you envision having dozens of homes to look at under a $600,000 price point for those criteria, you're going to be severely disappointed, and you better have a plan. That plan being, you're going to have to compromise somewhere. You're either going to have to increase your price or compromise on some of those things that limit the inventory, like maybe take a 3-car garage down to a 2-car garage or do without RV access. But you can see here how when you put more criteria that everybody else wants, there's fewer homes to look at. Okay, let's say your budget is $800,000 and under. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 homes to look at. And note that most of these homes aren't even in Coeur Lane. You've got this one here, and there's one here. So 2 of the 9 are in Coeur Lane proper. The others are in Rathdrum, Post Falls, Athol, and Hayden. Not that that's a big deal, but some people are very specific. They've got grandkids in Coeur Lane, and they want to be a couple blocks from their grandkids. And if that's you wanting to be in Coeur Lane, have a very limited selection. So let's review. The purpose of this exercise is to show you how limited inventory is. And even with these 9 homes, if you were to come out and look at them on a Saturday, not every one of these homes is going to have the floor plan that you want. 1 or 2 of them are going to have a smell in the house that you don't want. You might find 1 or 2 that you want to make an offer on, and you're going to be in most likely multiple bid situations, and you may or may not win that bid. And if you don't win the bids on those 1 or 2 homes that you actually like, you have exhausted your inventory, and now you're waiting for inventory to come on the market. When you lose a bid in a multiple bid situation, let's say there's 3 bids on the house, 1 gets the house, the other 2 move on to the next inventory, and you're competing with those buyers again. So you need to understand the limitations of inventory in the market that you're going to be looking. And as we showed before, if you can do without a single-story home, if you can do without 3-car garage and RV parking, your inventory is much better and the waters are much calmer. But if you're going to not compromise on any of those features, You need to be the strongest vessel that you can be to compete in that competitive market, and you also need to have a strategy in case you don't win some of those bids. Here is the brutal boat-seeking truth that Bonnie and I have learned by being one of the top relocation teams in all of Idaho. Most buyers want what's in those upstream waters. And to make matters worse, they set off too early in pool toys to pursue those homes in the upstream waters when they should have been taking the time to make their vessel more like a jet boat instead of a pool toy. And that brings us to our interview with Bonnie, where she's going to break down the 4 most popular buyer transition strategies that we use to get buyers from their current home to their home here in North Idaho. All right, Bonnie, so we're going to talk about the 4 typical offers that we see buyers that are trying to move from one home to another, the strategies that they use. And the first strategy, and this comes from that question, should I put my house on the market before I look for my next house? First strategy is you're actually going to make a contingent offer without your home that you're going to sell even being on the market. So let's talk about that.
Right. So if your home's not even on the market yet, and you want to go purchase a home and put it as a contingency, it's very difficult to get a seller to accept that type of an offer. Even if that home has been on the market for quite a while, you really don't have leverage over that seller. So you really don't get a good price on the home because you have that contingency. That is a huge contingency on the seller's side.
There's still a lot of uncertainty because the home isn't even on the market yet.
Right.
So that uncertainty, I think, is what translates into why you're not going to get an offer accepted, because the seller needs some form of certainty,
They
right?
do. Right.
Okay. What are some other negatives to not having your home on the market when you go to offer on another property?
As far as getting again an offer accepted, it's kind of slim to none, or they're going to give you something called a bump clause. That bump clause can basically bump you out if they get a better offer, and that might not be a bad thing for a buyer, because if you don't get your house under contract yet, they bump you out, then you're still in your home. You're not going to be homeless, but again, you don't have a lot of leverage against a seller in that situation at all. And they could give you a bump clause. They could give you something that, hey, your earnest money is non-refundable. Maybe they're going to give you 2 weeks to get your house under contract, and then limit. It goes non-refundable if you want to keep continuing. There's different ways a seller can come back to you to continue to stay in contract. I mean, I can't begin to go into all of those.
But you as a buyer, that seller of that home that you want to buy, when your home isn't on the market, that seller can put a bunch of criteria on you that makes it riskier for you as a buyer. You could lose your earnest money deposit. You could be put in a position where you've got to go back and sell your home for less than you want just because you want to get it sold.
Exactly. Yep. So you're paying probably top dollar on the home you're purchasing, but the antithesis of that is that you are probably not going to get as much. You're basically going to need to do a fire sale on your home. So that way you're not getting what you probably wanted for your home, and you're also paying more for the house that you're going to be purchasing. So it's kind of a catch-22 there.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about a contingency where your home is not on the market. Now let's talk about where, okay, I've got my house in escrow now. Can we go look at a house with a home that's in escrow?
Yes and no. The listing agent is going to be wanting to know, hey, how far are you in your transaction? Have you passed inspection? Because many times a home will fall out of escrow at the inspection time period. Have you passed the inspection time period? Have you passed the appraisal yet? These are things that I, as a listing agent, would want to know on your buyer of your home. So those are the questions that you're going to get asked, and actually, it's best to at least get through the inspection time period. That is pretty important, and that's probably what the seller most likely, if that agent is going to do their job, they're going to be wanting to know all of that information.
Do you have more leverage as a buyer who has a close of escrow date on the home that you're selling compared to a buyer who hasn't even put their house on the market?
Right, of course. Yeah, there's less risk to that seller because you have a close date. And it could even be the situation of if that buyer of the buyer's house, 2 buyers back, if there's any contingencies there too. And those are things that I definitely want to find out if that house is under contract already. Again, the domino effect.
Yeah.
How far back does this
Because just because your
chain
home's
go?
in escrow with a close of escrow date, even though that's better than not having your house on the market, now that your home's in escrow, you might have another domino that's in play
Right.
here. The buyer of that buyer's house.
Right. And we have a form now that we fill out. If I'm representing the buyer, we have a form that we fill out now about a contingent home sale. And we do have to say, what are the contingencies, and tell you a little bit about that sale. But it also gives the listing agent of the home that you want to purchase, it gives them the right to be able to call the listing agent on your home and get information about that sale. And that has proven pretty important sometimes when I really need to know what's going on in that sale.
So we talked about the first strategy.
Right.
The first strategy is where you make an offer contingent on the home that you want to buy, but your home isn't even on the market. That's strategy 1. Strategy number 2 is where you make an offer on the home you want to buy contingent upon your home selling and you're already under escrow. Then there's the third strategy where you're making an offer contingent on the home you want to buy, and then your home's in escrow plus you're asking for delayed possession. So you can talk about delayed possession.
So delayed possession, so that gives you, after close of your sale, that gives you the time to stay in your home, hopefully for free. But we work that out in the negotiations.
Could be 30 or 60 days, right? I mean, depending on what the lender's going to let.
Lenders will typically only allow 60 days, up to 60 days, but by that time the person has to move into your home. So anyway, most lenders, that's the situation. So if you were to get a 30-day delayed possession, so you start looking for your home within the 30 days of your escrow time period, then you would have the 30 days after to be able to close on your new home. So then that you kind of just overlap there a little bit. There may be a situation where you are homeless for a couple weeks or so if you haven't found your home yet.
Because I want to just kind of back up a little bit, because when you have a 30-day or a 45-day escrow, let's say that first week into your escrow, you are now looking for a home and you find the home that you want, you get the offer accepted. You're now 1 week into the escrow of the home you're selling, and then you are going to be in escrow in your new house. And if it's a 30-day escrow, that's 1 week now that you're homeless because you just spent 1 week on the other home's escrow looking for a home. So that's where this delayed possession can really come into play. Right?
Or a longer escrow. So we also could say, hey, we really need more like a 45-day escrow on that home in order to find a new house, or even a 60-day escrow, which on the listing side, on the seller side, that's not ever a great thing to have a long escrow because things happen. People lose jobs, people pull out of a deal for some reason, or they get cold feet, and they could even lose their earnest money
deposit. The longer
deposit.
that buyer has to think about that sale, or the longer that escrow is, more things can happen.
As a seller, you want that money in the bank.
Yeah, you want to
as
close
soon as
escrow as
possible.
soon as possible.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about those 3 strategies. We've got contingent offer, home's not on the market. We've got contingent offer with just the escrow period. And then we've got a contingent offer where we've asked for a delayed possession to give us a little bit more time. So those are the 3 strategies there. And then the last strategy that we see people using is where they actually sell their home, put the money in the bank, and then they go and they look for a property. What are the positives of doing that?
That's usually the best case scenario in order to get a better price for the home that you're purchasing. Now, that really is the best way, but you could possibly be homeless. Maybe you're living with relatives or friends for that interim period. Let me stop you there.
Yeah. Okay, because you mentioned homelessness. It's a very real possibility. Once you sell your home, escrow closes, you should already have a plan for where you're going to move out of your house. Are you going to rent a house where you're coming from? Are you going
VRBO?
to VRBO? We've had clients that literally will go rent an RV space here in Coeur d'Alene, and they'll be in that RV park for 1, maybe 2 months
Right.
as they're looking for homes. So you have to have a what we call a temporary command post. You've sold your home, money's in the bank. Where now are you going to reside while you're looking for your home? So there's rent a home month to month. There's rent VRBO, vacation rental.
Go camping for a few weeks.
Go camping for a few weeks, rent an RV spot, live with mom and dad, live with relatives. But you've got to have some kind of a temporary command post under this scenario. And then that allows you now to take your time looking at a home. So what other benefits do you now have?
Well, and the other thing of what a lot of our clients have done is have sold their house. Then they will actually rent here for a few months, find either like a VRBO or a short-term rental, maybe a 6-month rental even, that will actually help you to get here, understand the areas that you want to be in, start getting plugged into the community, and see where you start gravitating towards areas that you enjoy going to. You're going to be meeting people and asking them about their neighborhoods. It gives you a great time to just kind of chill and really get yourself in the community and decide and start looking to see where you want to land.
Because we've actually had clients that when they sold their home, they came here, they rented something in downtown. They got a vacation rental or a 6-month rental. Their mindset when they got here was they're going to be looking for rural properties. And they literally, after living downtown for a couple months or a couple weeks, they're like, we really like the fact that we can walk to everything. And then their paradigm shifted and they actually wanted to look for homes within that downtown area. So Bonnie brings up a good point. It gives you time to synthesize what is available for you, and then you can pinpoint even better now that you're understanding the community even more.
Right.
And that's a really good point. And then as far as leverage, what does it do for you as far as leverage when you're going to offer on homes now?
Right. So you don't have that contingent home sale to deal with anymore. Money's in the bank. You then can make a very good offer. I mean, especially if a home's been on the market for a little while. We can, put in a lower offer for you, and you're not paying top dollar for that home because you don't have that home sale contingency to weigh you down. Or as a risk, so it makes it a much cleaner offer, shall we say?
Less friction, less drag.
Friction, exactly.
Yep.
Less for the seller to worry about. The deal can go much smoother and much quicker, actually, too.
Okay, so we have been doing this. You've been doing it for over 10 years now. I've been doing it close to 8 years. We've done over 300 transactions now, and through these transactions we've been through all the atypical strategies that we talked about before this interview. We've done the typical strategies, the 4 strategies that we've just talked about. So of all the strategies that we've seen, which one tends to work out the best? If you could just say this is probably the one we recommend the most, what is it? What strategy is it?
Well, what works out probably the best is getting your house sold and then get a delayed possession as well. So you're going to get,
yeah, explain that.
You asked me the best situation.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, the best situation. Get your house sold. That money is in the bank. Then you get a delayed possession from that buyer of your house, say 30 days. Then you can still live in your home while you're searching for a home here. Maybe even get a 45-day delayed possession, which kind of brings us back to the delayed possession situation. But that is actually, I think, the best situation is to still be able to live in your home. You make one move. You don't have to make 2 moves or 3 moves. It's expensive to move. So you get that delayed possession, then you move straight into your new home. And it works like clockwork. I mean, it's great.
Okay, so you're saying of all the strategies that we would recommend, if you could create your best world scenario, you would say close the escrow, and then get a delayed possession for 30 to 60 days.
That would be wonderful. Okay. And then by that time, you probably have already seen some homes that you're interested in. And now our market is not moving as quickly as it had been a couple of years ago. So maybe that house is still on the market when you're ready to go purchase it after you've sold your home.
So are you suggesting that you go through this delayed possession, and if something doesn't come up in that extended period, now you can rent?
Then you could rent, yes.
Okay, and you would kind of know that as you're getting closer to that 30-day period at the end?
Yeah,
okay.
You would know that.
All right, so if I'm reading you correctly, you're thinking ask for delayed possession as long as you can get it first, and then as you get into the market here, you get a home. If you can't get a home and you're getting towards the end of that delayed possession, now it's time to look for that rental or that temporary command post.
Right. Okay.
All right, I'm with you. So there you have it. Those are the 4 typical strategies that we're seeing in our market.
Not all of them.
No.
By any means.
No.
But those are your 4 typical ones.
The 4 typical ones, and different people like different things. Some people are more prone to, I need to move from one house to the other. I don't want to go through the logistics of finding a storage facility and trying to find a rental when I have 4 Mastiffs and 1 Rottweiler.
True. Very true.
And I really don't want to live backed up to a freeway, because that's really the only rentals that are on the market right now, Bonnie.
Well.
And we usually tell our buyers, if you're going to rent short term, get over the fact that you're living next door to a railroad track, because it's temporary.
Very temporary spot.
Yeah, the goal here is to get you into your next home. The goal here is not to find the ideal rental.
Right.
And if you're trying to find the ideal rental, you're going to lock up. So, well, that's kind of what we have for you now. Thank you, Bonnie, for giving us your input. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, again, that by far is not all the scenarios. There are so many different scenarios, and every buyer, every seller has different motivations and different situations. So we sit down with our buyers and our sellers, of course, when we go to do a listing. But we want to sit down with our buyers and make sure, again, plan A, plan B,
we need these
plan
strategies
C,
locked down up
making
front.
sure we have those backup plans when things don't go exactly as we wanted them to go. Like I said, it's not by far there's so many different scenarios, but
All right, that explains the
give us a
4
call.
most typical that we see. We thank you guys for being with us here in Mom and Dad's backyard, and the neighbor weed whacking
the neighbor
and mowing.
doing their lawn.
But that's video as it goes. All right, thanks for following. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So again, remember, what Bonnie just described are the 4 most common buyer transition strategies. There are some atypical strategies out there. Among those are the HELOC strategy, the buy-rent strategy, and the bridge loan strategy. Those strategies actually require the buyer to go out and get some type of secondary funding and qualify for that funding, where they then can go out and make an offer on the North Idaho property here without being contingent upon that first property selling. And those atypical strategies actually require a video all their own. So, should you put your current home on the market before you actually go and look for your next home here in North Idaho? Hopefully, you can now see how important it is for you to first identify the type of home and in what market you're going to be competing in. These strategies are equally important to those of you that are going after new builds, because builders will not enter a contract with a buyer who does not have a solid strategy for selling their current home. In fact, most builders don't even enter into contracts with buyers who have a contingency to sell a current home. So whether you're looking for pre-existing or newly built homes, it's important for you to identify your North Idaho agent before you put your current home on the market. Why? Because a good agent can help you establish what type of home you're going after, what type of market you're going to be competing in, and then they can help merge the sale of one home with the purchase of the next, and thereby save you as much money as possible and even keep you from being homeless. You guys, there's a link in the description below. That's how you contact us. We can have a conversation via email, phone conference, Zoom conference. We can meet in person if you're ever here in Coeur d'Alene. You guys, this is a big deal when you go through the transition from one house to the other without a plan. We would love to have that conversation with you and help you free of charge understand the position that you're in and give you any strategies that might help improve your vessel, so that when you go to navigate the waters that we call the North Idaho housing market, you don't end up popping your pool toy. That's it for now, you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye now. My wife Bonnie and I own a local real estate team based in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Our personal journey to live better began in 2009 when we relocated our young family to North Idaho from Ventura County, California. We wanted to raise our family in a place rich with outdoor recreation and in a culture that treasured our strong conservative values. Leaving family, friends, and church was not easy. Perhaps the scariest decision was to leave behind 21 years as a deputy sheriff with Ventura County and finish my career with a new agency. But I did it and finished serving out my 3 decades in law enforcement as a deputy with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department right here in North Idaho. While I was doing the easy part, working in law enforcement, Bonnie diligently raised our 2 children, battled breast cancer into remission, and started her real estate career part-time. Talk about a winner. After retiring from law enforcement in 2016, I joined Bonnie in real estate and we went full-time forming the Martinelli Realty team and this video channel. Since then, we have successfully navigated one of the most aggressive and competitive real estate markets in America to help over 300 families relocate to North Idaho. In that time, Bonnie has been recognized as one of the top 1% producing real estate professionals in the entire country. It is this experience that we have gained in the market that forms the foundation of our videos. If you are wondering if you can live better in North Idaho, we dedicate this channel to you.